All right, so let's just jump into charting here and cover what I'm doing from a charting standpoint to track what's going on and give me a sense of direction here. I've really got four main indicators. I don't love the 9 EMA, but this little purple one here on the daily and the weekly, this little purple one's the 9 EMA, the bright greens, 21 EMA, the, I don't know if it's fuchsia or whatever color you want, that's the 50 EMA, and then down here is the 200 moving average in yellow. Those are the only ones I'm looking at. For now, this is more of my simple. These white dots are the PSAR bearish and bullish signals. So I can tell really what direction the market's in and which way we're going presently. And if the market starts to drop a little bit more, I'm going to switch over to trading my 0 DTE stuff. So, which is doing fair at best. All right, so what am I looking at here? Well, we can see that we're in an uptrend. You have all four of these moving averages moving higher. Usually either the 9 or the 21 will serve as kind of a bumper for me, that if we come down, test it, bounce, that's a good indicator. As we move, you can see we came down here, we bounced, we broke below both of those. When they're heading downwards, especially when the 9 breaks to 21, you're in a bit of a bearish mode. When you're heading up and all of them are pointing higher, you're in a bullish mode. So SPY is obviously in a bullish mode. The farther this 9 gets from the 21, the farther the 21 gets from the 50, the farther the 50 gets from the 200 is showing me that we've got good momentum in whatever direction we're going, which is essentially what the MACD is telling you too. It's telling you the difference between these moving averages. The greater that distance gets, the more momentum we have to one side. So I use the MACD a lot to give me a sense of momentum more than anything. I'm more of a momentum trader, and I am much more of a reversal trader as well. So I like to see what the momentum's doing, and then I like to see where we're reversing because I'm a premium seller. I like to go in the opposite direction, or I guess it would be in the direction of the reversal more than anything. So keeping an eye on that. So we got good momentum here, and then RSI down here. I lost some of my RSI settings because I made some tweaks this morning. I like to put the 50 on here. So when I look at the 50 line, that to me tells me, is the momentum in one direction strong enough, to keep the move going? So I put the 50 line in here. I recently changed my settings on RSI to be 75 and 25 as the overbought, oversold areas. So I'm keeping an eye on that. But if we're above, and if we're moving higher and we cross above, that's usually a pretty good spot to want to get long and ride the momentum higher. Then when you get over the 75, I was doing the 70 and the 70 and 30, and I can't keep track of everything in chat, so I'll do my best. Are they adaptive for toss? This is toss that I'm on, so I am showing you my thinkorswim charts. Same thing though is on my my charts for Tasty Trade as well. I use the exact same indicators. I don't really fuss with them a whole lot. Mine are pretty basic for the most part. I'm not doing anything fancy on my setups, but I'm watching RSI. That gives me a sense of, is my momentum going in a direction that's important to ride. So right now on the weekly, everything's pretty positive, moving higher. Okay, and then the last one here is the Squeeze Pro, which from Simpler Trading from John Carter. So it's been a good indicator. It's just, for me, I use it differently than others. Again, I'm very, very basic. I'm nowhere near as advanced on this stuff as Candy is, and having her background with the squeeze, she can read it probably a lot more in depth than I am. But I look for a couple things. Number one, I look to see if there's any red dots indicating we're in a squeeze. You can tell that with the Bollinger Bands and the Keltner channels on your own anyway, but it's certainly a nice visual here to cue me in. And then I'm also I look for the reversal. So right now you're getting a pretty strong squeeze break to the upside. You can see momentum is increasing. Momentum's been increasing here. Momentum's been increasing on ROI. You can see everything moving up. There's no surprise on SPY that we're moving higher. Definitely in a bullish mode. And I will move off of this shortly here for you guys, but you can get a sense of what that looks like. And I'll probably reshare Candy. So pointed out, my chart links are there. You guys can always import my chart settings. And I'll probably update these because I did update the RSI to 75.25. Why did I go from 70 to 75 and from 30 down to 25? I just want a little bit more of an overextended look at things. So that's all. I'm just a little bit wider on those to give myself a little bit more of an overextended view. That overextended view gives me a sense of, is a reversal potentially coming here? And typically, okay, and I got this from John Carter, but he had mentioned that the typical squeeze would be about an 8-bar on average. Now, we've seen them go, I've seen them go 20 bars. I've seen them go 30 bars. This one's like 12. So it, again, doesn't mean that that's going to happen. But, if I'm 4 bars in on this move and it's pretty close to the top of my range here, it's sitting up here around there. It doesn't mean it can't get higher than this. That's long in the tooth. It's not showing a reversal yet here. We're not showing a reversal yet on MACD, and we're not overbought on RSI on the weekly. So I think you could have some more upside to go potentially. All right, so if we then take a look at the daily, is the daily giving me kind of the same vibes? Well, yeah, you got MACD rising, you got RSI rising here, and you've got the squeeze from the red dots here breaking into the green. So you've got the squeeze moving higher. And Candy, you can correct me on this if you want to jump off and tell me what I'm doing not correctly or what a better way to look at it is. I'm always open to learning, and you are much more the master on the squeeze than I am. But you can see on my white, the white lines here is my 3 ATR. This is the Keltner channel, and I'm using a 3-factor here. You can use some of Igor's charts. You'll see Igor using all of, you'll see the 1, the 2, the 3 factor on his. So you can see what's going on right now. I just have the 3 ATR. So this tells me when we get above this line, and this line is flat-ish, to me, it's getting overextended. Right, so this is getting it's getting close, but but back here, when you see this thing start to turn from, like here, it's flat. The 3 ATR line is pretty flat up here. Okay, here you can see it's accelerating more. It's not quite at a 45-degree angle, but when it gets into a pretty solid 30 to 45-degree angle, then to me, it's just going to ride it up until it eventually tails off. So I don't really try to fight it when it's in one direction, moving pretty solidly there. So we're making some money on 0 DTE. Okay. That's a good thing. So I'm keeping an eye on that. All right. On the Qs, pretty much the same thing here. I do these nightly in my videos. Again, I do them so that I have an idea of what the market is doing and potentially could be doing tomorrow to help me with setups. All right. So if we're looking at the Qs, the PSAR signals higher. You can see all your moving averages are stacked. They're widening. So back here, they were a lot tighter. They're a lot farther apart. MACD should be increasing. RSI is increasing. The squeeze is fired to the upside, but now we are over the 3 ATR here. So being over the 3 ATR level on this, we're overbought, in my opinion, on the 3 ATR. It could be a chance for a reversal, but you've got the 3 ATR at a decent angle heading higher, so you could potentially ride that. So we look at the daily to see, is that confirming it? Well, today you've got the Qs down just fractionally. So techs are down a bit on the session today. We did break the 3 ATR here, hit some new all-time highs on the Qs, and then pulled back inside. Normally, you will revert back inside of this 3 ATR. This 3 ATR band for me, as based on the 21 length. I love the 21 moving average, and that's what this green line is. So you can see that when you hit the top and you stop riding it for a while, a lot of times you'll revert back to the 21, and that's where you can see a bounce, or if you happen to break it, maybe you have a move to the opposite side. All right. So my RSI is now 75-25. It was 70-30, Craig, and now I moved it to 75-25 because I got to keep you guys on your toes. So I'm going to change stuff every couple of weeks on you. All right, so you can also see on the daily here, the RSI getting into this overbought. Now it's above the 75 line here, so we're above the 75, and that to me is overbought. Are we going to tip down, come down in? Maybe. You got MACD rolling over one day. Now a one-day rollover, or a one-day lesser bar is not a trend make. So I know that was horrible English, but one day does not a trend make. So I would want to see at least 2 days. You can see here, we came down one day, RSI was dropping one day and the MACD dropped, but the next day it was just back up and running. So you need, to me, at least 2 days of confirmation, in my opinion, in order to go the other way on it. So one day gets my attention, but then lost my attention, and I'm no longer focusing on it. All right, so there's a little bit of a watch on what I'm doing, and then IWM, and we'll get into futures in just a moment on it. So yeah, 3 dots make a line. Perfect. So on IWM, and this thing it was up. It had a little bit of a false breakout here. Now, the momentum was up. The moving averages, though, were all negative here, and they started to reverse. You could see back here when MACD started to reverse, this was my signal that, okay, this is interesting. Okay, this next week confirmed that the move potentially was going the other way. Okay, which made it even more, and it's a big up move on that week. RSI, and again, I lost my RSIs here, so I'm going to put my 50 line back in. So I like to, oops, what did I do? So let's get to 50. I make it a little bit thin purple line, boom, and that's it. Okay, so this gives me a sense of, where are we crossing the 50? And back here, this was on like 10:30. This is where we were here. You could see we were close to oversold. The squeeze started to change its direction on 11/1. Where did this move happen? Well, it started on the week of 10:30. And then it started here on 11/1. The squeeze here started to move the other direction. And you can see we were just gapping up a bit. PSAR flipped from here. You can see the white dots heading lower. PSAR flipped again on 11/1. When the PSAR flipped, that was another bullish sign that maybe we were moving higher. Again, I'm just giving you a sense of how I'm looking at it. If this helps you, great. If not, the weekly is more important than the daily. Oops, that was a mess. Than the daily to me. Okay, so the weekly to me is more important because my trades are 60, 90, and 120 days out. I'm not day trading for the most part, some zero DTE stuff, but I'm really not day trading here, and I'm not putting a lot of swing trades on that are 5, 7 days out. So because of that, the daily is less important, but it gives me a sense of, can this be starting to move the overall weekly? And I know Igor does it a little different way to me. Igor looks at it as if and I think he's probably right because he's smarter than I am. Okay, and Candy, you can jump in on this. The daily or the 4-hour or whatever, that's going to indicate that you may be seeing a shift in momentum, okay, or a change in direction. The weekly to me is like a battleship. It doesn't turn on a dime. Okay, it's going to be slow to turn. Okay, the daily is more like a U-boat, and you can turn left and right pretty quickly. But this may lead this, but to me, this is the overall riding direction for me. So whatever the weekly says to me, the daily, if it's in sync with it, fine. If the daily gets out of sync with this, if this is telling me something's going down and this is telling me something's going up on the daily, and they're in a bit of a spat between the two, they don't agree, I go with the longer term, okay? Because I feel the longer term is in force until it's not. The daily might indicate some early sense of movement, but the longer term to me still dictates everything until the daily either joins it or causes the weekly to move the other way. All right, so again, I'm just trying to give you guys a little bit of my crazy perspective on things and how I trade it. All right, let's skip to something more valuable. We're already 20 minutes in, so let's rock and roll through this. I wanted to look at some trades today. We're going to get into my account and we'll put some on. Where can we put trades? I mean, I've just been wanting to put trades on 6A on the Aussie dollar for a while. It's just tough for me with the size account. Why? Because the dollar has been rallying on the daily and now it's stagnated. The dollar, if you can tell on this, I think there might have been a question somewhere, but the light blue straight lines, these are my trend lines. So I draw these myself when I draw just basic trends and support and resistance a bit. That's it. I don't do anything else. But you can see if I can connect 3 points, okay, if I connect 3 points, it's a valid trend line. 2 points, 3 points, valid. All right, so you can see up here, 1, kind of 2, 3, 4, not quite this one. Pretty valid resistance line here. And you can see that we ran to it today and failed again on it on the dollar. You can also see that right now you're in a little bit longer term uptrend. Okay, higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low here. But this is creating an ascending triangle. And if we break to the upside, this can be a pretty good move. I'd be watching potentially the squeeze or something in the dollar to see if we start to squeeze the dollar. I'm just keeping an eye on my 0 DTE as we go, which is why I hate doing it. But anyway, you get some people just in the addict and I can't help myself. All right, so you can also see on this week, we got a PSAR on the dollar. We got a PSAR bullish reversal. We went up, and when we tag one of the dots, all we have to do is tag a dot that will flip it to a bullish or bearish trend for the most part, which means we won't flip bearish necessarily until we come down and tag one of the white dots. Okay, so until we tag a white dot, so this is a long way down right now. So we have a bullish trend that's going on, and it'll be valid from a PSAR standpoint until it tags a dot. Okay, the closer we start to get to, so you can see these dots were coming down, the market was coming up to meet it. It was giving me a pretty good indication yesterday that we didn't quite tag it, but we were doggone close. And when we get doggone close, that to me signals that we may have a reversal potentially, at least in the PSAR coming. Then I start to look, oh, okay, we got a squeeze, losing momentum. Here, MACD has already been reversing its momentum to the upside. Okay, so, and then you see RSI climbing to the 50 line. If it breaks the 50, that should even give us even more momentum. Back here, you can see we reversed. Boom, when we crossed, that to me is a really good signal. MACD crossed the 0 line, RSI crossed the 0 line, squeeze was in it, the squeeze pro here was in, the red dots was a squeeze, and it fired here a couple days later. But I'm in here most likely, and you can ride this higher, and you can also just wait it an extra day or two until the 9 broke the 21. These aren't all of indicators that you should just rely on that is going to make you billions of dollars in the market. I'm just looking at overall trends so I can see if there's a reversal opportunity. So the dollar moving sideways, but slightly higher in this trend, which means you're probably a bit weak on most of the Forex. You can see the line here, okay, touched it, touched it, touched it, touched it, touched it, touched it again. So it's a pretty valid downtrending blue line here. PSAR has been telling me we're heading lower. I'm waiting to see what can I do to play this. Can I put a strangle on? I don't, strangles you can put on any time. And I'm going to I know I talk about it, so I talk about probabilities. Okay. Volatility doesn't change the probability of a trade. I don't care if the volatility is 9 or 90. It doesn't have anything to do with the fact that that trade will work or not. Okay. Your probability of profit is still going to be 89 or 90 or whatever it is based upon your deltas and the way you set that trade up. Okay, volatility does not change the probability of a trade working or not working. Okay, well, I don't want to trade, I don't want to sell premium when the volatility is low. Why? Okay, the only thing volatility is going to do is give you more premium at the price that you're looking at. Okay, and potentially give you a little bit wider and safer strike. But because volatility is high, is that strike really safer? It's still a 90% chance of getting hit. Okay. So just because it's a 90% chance of getting hit doesn't change with volatility. So anyway, I'm just my little rant on volatility. But I do like strangles a little bit better when I'm towards the 21 and I'm in the middle. Now it could, can it just rack lower because it's on this move down breakthrough? Sure, it can. Okay. I'd like to see wide Bollinger Bands or wide ATR bands that are starting to bend in. Okay. When they're widest, that's usually when volatility is widest. And then when they start to narrow, okay, then volatility is typically coming in. And Tom, why would you care? Because you said volatility doesn't really matter. It really doesn't matter for me as much, but if I can put a trade on that's in the center of my bands when volatility is decently wide, okay, and I would think that if I have a lot of room to the upside to the 3 ATR and the downside, I'm kind of in the middle here. I like my odds. I just feel better, even though the probabilities are no different whether I sold a strangle here or I sell a strangle down here. The probabilities are still the same. I don't know. I just feel more warm and fuzzy when I'm a little bit more in the middle of the band. And I love to see the fact that we are in a bearish trend on the weekly, but potentially a bullish move starting on the daily. I like the yin and yang type of setup here, where now we're just fighting against each other here. And if we keep going sideways long enough, that's going to really bode well for our strangles. All right, so 6A setup, not bad. I think it's a good setup for a 1-1-2 trade here because it looks like the momentum has started to shift to the upside. And let's put this to 50. I'm so mad that I lost all of these, but we'll fix them. Not all today with you guys on here. All right, but okay, we're starting to see RSI moving higher. You've got the squeeze, lost its, it fired to the downside. Now the momentum is coming out of that. The momentum had already reversed on MACD. You're about to touch the PSAR signal here. So you were about to flip this chart. Had we hit it just a tad higher today, we would have flipped this chart to a bullish PSAR signal. Would that have mattered? It certainly would have made this a lot nicer looking, but we're right, from a bullish standpoint. But I'm okay in here that, hey, if we drop a little bit more down here, and I love the 3 ATR line here as a chance to see when I put on a naked put for a strangle or a 1-1-2, how close am I to this, which is an overextended, to me, it's an overextended area. So if I get my naked puts around these, doesn't mean I will, okay? I'm overextended. I mean, look how they're contained inside of here. Okay, you don't usually get outside of it and stay outside of it for long. I kind of equate it, if you guys have heard me before, to being in a space capsule and going out for a spacewalk without any oxygen. Okay, you can only stay outside of this bar with no oxygen for a long enough time. You got to get back into the capsule. Okay, you got to get back in the boat. Okay, you can only stay underwater for so long before you need to come up for air. Okay, same thing up here. So you can really only stay without oxygen for so long, and you got to come back inside of it, unless this thing is more at a 45-degree angle in one direction or another, then you can potentially stay outside of it for longer. Just my little takes here. It doesn't mean anything. All right, let's take a look at oil. And I want to get an oil trade on today. So we're going to put an oil trade on today. What have I been seeing in oil? If you watch the nightly videos, oil's been in this downtrend. You can see the PSAR moving down. You can see this lower, lower lows, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low. Okay, as we move down here. But then had I drawn a trend line and tried to get at least 3 touches of it, from here to 1 to 2 to 3. Okay, it's pretty valid of a trend line. We broke it either sideways or up. Doesn't matter how you break it. Okay, we broke the trend line. Okay, doesn't mean the downtrend is over yet, but okay, look what happened at MACD. It started to roll over. Okay, so the split between like the 9, the 21, the split between these is starting to narrow more. Okay, as it starts to narrow, you're running out of momentum. How do you use that? Does it help you? Does it mean anything? Not necessarily, but if I like to look at the fact that if you're doing it, are we running out of steam to the downside? Well, yeah, we started to reverse here and then head higher on the MACD. We reversed here, started to head higher on the RSI, back to the 50. A break of the 50 to me is going to be very, very bullish, like back in here. Look what happened when it broke the 50 and it broke the 0 line here. We're close to the 0 line. We're close to the 50 on the weekly, and the squeeze has run out of juice. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, right? 8 bars, that's the average before we reverse. And it looks like this week we got a reversal bar. Now, 1 bar doesn't make a trend. However, I'm just putting all these things in my favor to figure out direction. Okay, and then we broke here fractionally. Here you can see I put in a little bit of I could have drawn this all the way back to here. So this trend line could technically come all the way back here. Okay, it's been a pretty solid resistance line. Okay, simple resistance. Okay, getting at least 3 touches or so on it, which I feel we got. All right, then the uptrend line here, 3 touches, 1, 2, 3 touches, almost a 4th here. Okay, so it's a decent uptrend line. You had a bullish PSAR reversal back here, and you're getting farther from the PSAR signal. The farther you get, the more bullish that trend continues to be a bit there. And then you broke yesterday and a pretty violent move to the upside. As soon as you broke the resistance, it was a big move. Okay, now you get the 9 moving above the 50. You get the 21 moving higher. You're not quite stacked because you're below and you're struggling with the 200-day here. I think this is set up well for strangles. Okay, I think this is set up really well for a 112. You're in a squeeze here, so you can see the red dots. You're in a squeeze, and Candy covered this in her trainings as well on profile. Okay, we're in a squeeze. We're breaking to the upside. The gold bars, the gold dots here is an even tighter squeeze, I believe. So this is I don't know, Candy, how you guys call it or what you call it, but to me, the gold dots mean it's a much tighter, narrower squeeze. So when it's high compression like this, when you start to fire, you're going to get a much more violent move. Okay, so the yellow is the higher compression squeeze if you're using the Squeeze Pro, which does not come standard with TOS, but you can purchase that or get that on your own. All right, so or you can make it. So either way. Excuse me. All right, so that was leading up to this violent move to the upside here. Nice pullback day today. So would you do a strangle? I don't know if I'm going to do a strangle here because I feel this thing could really start to move to the upside, but you are pretty far away from the ATR bands. So I think strangles are fine, and I think a 112 trade is fine. So let's make a note that we're going to do a 112 trade on oil. All right, so that's number 1. Let's take a quick look at gold. Okay. And if we look at gold, we look at the weekly. We've been in a downtrend here on the weekly. You can see that, we've just been heading down for 4 straight weeks now. MACD's been heading lower. You got the RSI's heading lower. So you're definitely in a bit of a bearish mode on gold. So bearish mode on gold on the weekly. You can see Candy's in her Discord channel. So Candy's got all of that stuff. If you go to Candy's Corner, you can hop in there and you can click on her market structure week review. Okay, and she'll cover that, and you can also look at her market forecast stuff on individuals. So just hop into her Candy's Corner section, and she's got all kinds of great stuff there. All right. I'm learning something every day. Okay, so you got to follow like people smarter than you, and Candy's smarter than me. So, uh, all right. So you follow what's going on here, and then look. We've been heading down. You can see the squeeze fired. It was getting long, and now it's starting to run out of momentum. One day we don't play, okay, because we went back up. But now 2 weeks in a row, okay, that's telling me that we've really started to move to the downside a bit on the weekly. And if we look at the daily, obviously that's pretty much self-explanatory here. You got the PSAR bearish signals, and we're in a pretty good channel to the downside. You draw your trend line, touched 1, touched 2, touched 3, almost touched 4 here. I think that's all good stuff to watch. So you've got this moving to the downside, but you can see that this thing's been conflicted. It's not a real strong MACD reversal. RSI's just been trending water sideways, but now breaking through the 50. Now it broke it here and then failed. Okay, it's trying to do it again. Squeeze might be reversing the momentum and heading into a squeeze. So if you're heading into a squeeze potentially on daily gold, and you're breaking above, we broke above the 21, the 9, the 30, the 50, and you're above the 200. Okay, and it probably, if we move sideways or slightly up for another day or two, these are all going to start to get stacked, and you might start to see a pretty good run higher on gold. So I think gold could potentially be ready to break the downtrend and run higher. But I like the fact that the weekly's down. Oh, getting filled on some 0 DTE winners. So I don't even have to look. I just let it go. So we're making money while we're just sitting here talking about stuff. All right. So love the ding, I think, as Tom and Tony have said. All right. So gold, what do you think? Do you think we're going to break to the upside? Well, we could break this PSAR reversal. We're close to it. We'll give it a little bit more, but I think a strangle here is not a bad opportunity. Because we're a bit conflicted in it. And again, strangles, it's just all about probabilities anyway. And then a 112, I think, is a really good setup on gold, even though I can't figure out 112 setups on gold to save my life. Okay. I actually messaged Joseph today in his Discord. I don't know how his plan calls for doing gold 112s. I can't figure out how to actually get them on and have them work. Without really pulling my naked puts up pretty doggone high, which makes me nervous. But I like a 112 on gold here because I think we could break to the upside. We're still in a downtrend, but we're not that far off of these areas. So I like a 112 setup in gold. So I think that's interesting. But I also think a gold strangle here as you pulled back towards the 21 on the weekly, and you're pretty good distance between the 3 ATRs, and you've got bearish weekly, bullish daily. That's a good strangle setup to me. Okay, so I really like it. I really like it here. All right, so last thing here is just, well, let's take a look at one more thing. I want to look at bonds today. So let's take a quick look at bonds. And bonds here on the weekly, you can see that we triggered a bearish PSAR here. We're dropping down. We hit the 21. I don't think bonds are going back to 106 or 107. Okay, but I think this bond selling and the rates rising was overdone. And you can see that we did get a bounce here on the bonds as rates have tailed off a bit lately. So nice rally on bonds, pulling back to the 21, which is perfect. Okay, you've got the weekly MACD heading lower, RSI heading lower on this. So tweak this a bit. Don't ever change your settings. You'll lose all of your stuff. All right. All right. And you were heading back down to the 50 on the RSI. A break of that lower would be a pretty good potential bullish signal there. Give me 1 second. Okay, I'm going to change a trade. All right, so bearish weekly, all heading lower, except for the squeeze, which is firing to the upside while we're heading lower, which is a bizarre piece. But MACD and RSI heading lower. Who was it? Zen Thunder, talking about the STOMO. If you look at the stochastic momentum, which is an indicator that I love to death, it's probably one of my favorite indicators. I use it a lot of different places here, and I think I probably have it on a couple different charts here. So you can see this stochastic momentum indicator here. This is one of my favorites for day trading. It's not, oh, there we go, filled on another 0 DTE. We had a pretty nice day on 0 DTE. So it didn't look great early, but we rallied and things won. If I get a better stochastic momentum here somewhere. I really don't. All right. I thought it would be a better way to show it to you here. I can add it, but stochastic momentum is a good indicator. Here's the weekly. Let's just, we can pop it on here just for the heck of it, maybe. So stochastic momentum index. Didn't need that too. I'm not going to make any changes to it. We're just going to add it. So stochastic momentum is a good indicator here as well. When this thing, now it can, you can see it's very closely correlated to the RSI, which is why I don't use it as much on the weekly. It's almost the same type of an indicator as the RSI here. But as you get the crossover and we move slower into oversold, and then we stay oversold, and then we move back. This is a good indicator as well. It is one of my favorites, but it's one of my favorites on day trading more than anything else. I'm not advocating day trading to everybody. I'm just telling you that's one of my favorite day trading indicators. It gives me a sense of where the momentum is going. I cannot tell you how excited I am that I got out of all of my 0 DTEs for some big numbers today. So my biggest 0 DTE day of the year. All right. So we're on Amazon. We were sitting here on bonds. I think bonds is interesting, mainly because you're weak here on the weekly. MACD, RSI is heading lower, squeeze. I have no idea what the heck it's doing here. It should be running out of momentum as well. And then when we look at the daily here, okay, and you can see that we're close to, but we haven't triggered the bearish PSR, but we're almost tagged it today. You're in this downtrending channel on bonds. You maybe starting to get a little bit of a reversal here. MACD is reversing a bit. Squeeze might be reversing here. RSI holding flat. I think bonds is a good strangle opportunity in here. Okay, you've pulled back from the 3 ATR back to the 21, and then here, whatever, you're maybe moving higher, but you're in a downtrend. A lot of sideways action. I don't expect bonds to be big movers in one way or the other. I don't expect the Fed to do anything next week either. And I've been watching a little bit of the Fed prediction tool thing, and you've actually lost some percentages of the markets going into 4 or 5 cuts this year. Now it looks like a lot more like 3 cuts this year, which to me makes a lot more sense. I certainly didn't believe the 7 cuts that it was predicting. But I like where bonds are here. I think you can do a 1-1-2 or a strangle trade in here. All right, that's it for me. I don't want to cover any more charting. I think that's a lot. Let's get into the account. And before I do that, let's tweak this a bit. All right, and we can jump into the trading accounts. All right, so here's the trading account. Here's what we're doing today. We've actually got a nice update going in the market. So if we're looking at the different accounts that we have, we're up nicely today. A lot of that's 0DTE. I've got a lot of different accounts here, not only for me and other family members and so forth. So we trade a lot of different accounts, but we're having a good day today. We're up $1,500 on the day. I wish you could always see the net lick, but that's all good. But we could use some theta. We've got plenty of buying power. Let's update this a bit. We're sitting at 47 with 50% of it in bill. So we're really at 37 buying, but we have a ton of BP to use in this particular account. So knowing that we have a lot of BP to play with on this, let's take a look at those trades. Now, the first trade that we talked about potentially was oil. And you can see with my BP on oil, it's pretty close to the total BP on ES, just a little light. We've got a 112 trade here doing perfect. You could technically think about closing. Now, I know Joseph likes the 91%. Here, I'm more of a 95% guy, but I can't fault anybody for making some moves here, especially when you're at 0.03. You're not going to get a whole lot more movement than that. So I could take these naked puts off here. I'm not going to do that yet today, but we'll keep an eye on that. Then we've got a ratio spread. This thing's up 44%. Okay, so ratio spread's up 44% in 14 days. That's not bad. Okay, we are now at 50%. My plan on the ratio spreads was to take these off at 50% winners here. So it wasn't a huge winner, just something we put on. All right, so I'm going to look to close this position. Oh yeah, I can't. I have to get out individually. Sorry. All right, I'll do that later. But if you're following, oh, the overall spread's at 44. I'm sorry. It's funky. Okay, so it's really only a 44% winner, even though, so I guess I'm not doing anything. All right, so here's the 112, another one from March that we have on. This thing is doing totally fine, nothing to do there. Let's get into this. I got another strangle working on oil. This thing's up 39% in 17 days. Probably would make sense to take it off and close it early. Why? Because I'm at 40% in 17 days versus 50% in 30 days. Okay. I talked about this the other day on closing early. Okay. If I'm closing early, if I can get 50%, okay, in 30 days, that's 1.67. Okay. Just remember 1.67% a day. Okay. 50% divided by 30 days is 1.67 a day. If I can get over 1.67%, I'd consider closing this. Okay, so if this is 17 days, okay, and I'm at 40% divided by 17 days, that's 2.35% a day. I'm averaging significantly more than I was in there. This would make sense to close. Yes, yes, or yes. I think I would close this. So why wait? Why wait longer to try to get the other 10%? I can put some more stuff on. So let's close this particular trade. I don't trust Tasty, so okay. Oh, that's right, because I already have my order on. Forgot about down here. Okay, we'll let that thing work. I don't chase, so we'll see how we go. It's at the same debit, so let's let this thing rock. All right, then we got another ratio spread here. This thing's up 13% in 4 days. All right, so I want to get some more trades on oil. I'm going to close this strangle, so that won't be in the way anyway, and there's no other strangles on. So I think getting a oil strangle on today is something we can do. Let's go out as close to 90 days as we can. I don't like to go too much more than 90, so the 82-day is fine. We're going to slide on down here, somewhere around this 7, which we already have this 58 working, which I think is part of this ratio spread. And so I'll avoid that. We'll go around 59 in here. Yes, we're going to have similar strikes. It's all good. I'm going to look to go 59 at a downside. And I'm going to go to look, again, we're going to have similar strikes up here. But I think this 99 is part of this triangle, which is going to come off here. So I don't care that we're really overlapping or close to that triangle. Let's take a look at selling this one. I am going to do a 112 because I marked. So, but I'm shifting gears midstream because I'm taking a strangle off. Okay. I'm not rolling any strikes. That's too much work. That's just too much work. All right, let's take a quick look at this thing. Let's get it up to about 3 contracts. If I look at my typical sizing on my strangle, it's been about 3. I can go more, okay, but I don't need to be greedy because I do want to put a 112 trade on here. Let's actually make this even more fun. All right, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to go to 4 strikes, and we're going to place this trade. So we're going to put a strangle with a PDS in the middle of it. So we're going to put this strangle here on. Look at this trade. Let's pop this thing. Let's see what happens. I'm going to put this strangle on, but what I'm also going to do is I'm going to pop in the middle of this strangle a PDS as well with only 1 contract. You're going to get the I don't roll strangles. Yeah. Yeah, 100%. I don't roll any legs of anything. I don't really care. Okay. I got to close it and open it. And then, if you want to come and fix my spreadsheet for all that rolling nonsense, Craig, you can do it. I know you know how to do that, but let's get this thing. All right, you know what? I'm going to let this strangle run. I know I was going to shift gears and put that piece on, but I'm not going to. We're going to go back and we're going to do the 112 that we said we were going to. So I know I'm flopping gears on everybody. I'm going to do same strike here, but I'm going to put on a 112. But I'm going to do a little bit. Craig has already been fixing my spreadsheet, so if you don't know it, and I'm not going to rent him out, but that guy knows stuff. So he's been instrumental in fixing my spreadsheet. All right, let's take a look at putting on the 112 we talked about here. Why am I going from 40? I don't like 49, it's too close. I got to go to 82, which is where I just put that strangle on as well, which means I'm going to have all kinds of stuff going on in here. Still not getting filled, which is irritating me. 59. All right, I don't want to put it on the same piece. Let's take a look down here, 57-ish. Let's go 57. All right, and I'm just going to model this one out for you guys. All right. All right, so here we go. Here's the 112 trade that we're putting on. This thing's going to generate 540 bucks on 4,200 in buying power over 82 days, which is nice. We're gonna change it up on you guys here. So what's 540 on 4,240? This is almost 13% in the tail, and this gives us no risk to the upside, which is perfect because I think we felt that this thing could explode to the upside. I am still putting that strangle on because probabilities are probabilities. I'm going to leave that strangle running. But this thing here, I'm okay. Let's have a little fun and let's move these up a tad. And I'm going to move my PDS up a bit in this trade. Why am I getting this funkiness? Oh, I just got filled on the strangle and it threw everything off. All right, so here we go. We're going to move these up. Now I'm getting 520 for 4,200 and 36, okay, which is 12.2% in essentially 82 days. Totally fine. Let's move them up a little bit more because we can. We can still get our 3% a month return and move these up. Now we're getting, let's say, $500, okay, using 42.38, okay, which is now 11.8%. That's pretty good, 11.8% in 82 days. So you take 11.8 divided by 82, that's going to give you 0.143, and we're going to multiply that times 30, which is going to be 4.3% a month on this thing. So if I have 4.3% a month, pretty good, right? Let's go more. Okay. We're going to correct this up a little bit more. Now we're making 470. Essentially, all you need to know is as long as I get 10% in 82 days, I'm going to be over 3%, right? Because 3% a month for 90 days would be of 9. So we're going to move this up even more. And I'm going to look to do something along the lines of 74.73. Okay. I haven't moved my puts down here, but I've moved this up. Okay. I'm still getting $410 on 42.58. Okay. That's 9.6%. So I'm pretty close to 10% in only 82 days. But we've moved this up. This is more the aggressive trap or the Andy trap, the AT, whatever you want to call it. I like the aggressive trap personally. So the aggressive trap is just moving the PDS higher. It's still giving me a really nice return, okay, on my account. And when I do trade this, I will double these quantities. I could actually probably triple these quantities because I have the buying power. And the max loss in here on this is above 9. So this is a good opportunity here. I'm going to put this one on here. So this is more of an AT style, which is the aggressive trap, which all I've done is I've moved the put debit spread higher. I'm still getting a great percentage of over 3% a month here in the trap. And if we drop at all, okay, this thing's going to pay off. It's more like a BA, the big ass trap. It's made this trap significantly wider than it was. Okay, so significantly longer. We have a lot of space here to make more money to the downside and yet still make good money to the upside. All right, so we can get 41 cents for this trade. So let's put this on.
Order filled.
I'm done today.
Okay, don't know who's unmuted, but
Order canceled.
Okay, I'll mute you guys again. All right. All right, so we got that working. We did get filled on this strangle here. So this strangle's been filled. I'll group it. Okay, this is the April 17 strangle. And then when I do put these on, okay, I already have the strangle here. I'm waiting to take off. When I do put this particular strangle on, I always put in my wrongly. I always put in my closing order right away. Okay. In case I go to sleep, I'm going to take off. I'm going to go to Florida in a couple of weeks. I don't feel like I'm not taking my laptop. I'm not going to do anything. So I just assume have this thing come off on its own without me having to look at it. Okay, strikes on that strangle was the one I just put on was the 59.97.5. So 59.97.5. I feel that's a pretty good upside 97.5, even though I'm bullish on oil. But on this move down today, okay, I kind of like it. Now we got to fuss with this put debit spread, and then I want to get. I know I'm going long for you guys, so hopefully you're okay hanging in there with me. I think I had the 57 to the downside, something like that. Let's go 57.5. All right, I mute people again. I don't know how you guys keep getting off mute, but all right. All right, and then that was I'm still waiting to get filled. Okay, on this put debit spread. So don't know why I have not. Let's see, what are we looking at? Yet. Pending. That's weird. All right, I'm going to leave it. It's at 3. All right, sorry, I'm moving all over the place here. Let's get back here. Let's put this thing on right around here, and we got to put 6 of these on. We'll try for 42. Don't know we'll get it, but that's working as well. All right, so real quick, we did close, or we did open a new strangle here. We're trying to close this strangle up here. We're trying to close this one right now at 51. I tried to get 52. I didn't get it. And so we'll keep trying 51. Oil's having a nice little sell-off here. And then this put debit spread, and it just doesn't want to get filled. So the put debit spread's filled. Now I'm just waiting for the naked puts to fill here. Let's just do it and be done. Okay, so this trade is now in the books as a new trade. We'll group it. It's the April 17. I'm going to call it the AT112 only because I want to remind myself as to that I did something different. Okay, so I just want to do something different with my nomenclature to know that I had moved these puts up higher out there. So they're, this thing's on, the strangle's on, nothing to do here. All right, so that's oil. Now we did talk about doing a gold strangle on the session. So let's take a look at gold. We do have this 2112 trade working presently. I'm going to have to group it because we're going to get in here. The April 25, 2112. All right, so this 2112 essentially was a strangle with a PDS in the middle in case gold goes lower. And the gold has been trending lower on the weekly and the daily until today's, little bit of a, today is still down, but you get the point. It's been trending lower. All right, so because it's been trending lower, I think we could get another potential strangle on, even though this strangle is only 4 days out. Let's take a look at gold and see what we can do. Here's 90 days. Let's look at the 1900 and then look up here. Let's look at 2300. All right, so 740 on 362, totally fine. Now, when I looked at my chart on gold, my ATR bands, the top ATR was 2177. So 2177 was right around here. This is my 3 ATR, and I'm looking to put it on up here. So I'm pretty far outside of my upper band. And then my lower band was 1811, which is down here for my 3 ATR. I'm putting this on here, but can we play with this a little bit? Let's take a look. We'll size it appropriately for my account here. So what am I getting? 2960 on 14648. That's 20%. I expect this to be out in 30 days. That's a massive return on the strangle. So I think I can be a little bit more cautious. So I'm going to pop this down because 1810 was the downside, and we are in a down move, but you've got gold potentially reversing. So I don't want to get too crazy here, but I think I could possibly give myself a little more room. I'm not going down to the 1850 and giving up all of my profit on it. But I think this is good. I mean, I didn't move it a whole lot for you guys here, but yeah, we'll leave it at 1885. It was only a little bit different, but let's put this gold strangle on. gold's going to take some, it's going to take some work to massage this thing. 655. And if I moved it down, it would go to 650. So I'm going to leave this for now. I'm probably going to have to bop it to 650. 650 is still going to be fine. I'm going to be in good shape. All right, last leak real quick. I know we're way over time here. I know Igor's got something coming up, so I want to get you guys off of mine so you can take a little bit of a break before you jump in with Igor's session this afternoon, which would be really cool, what he's going to do. But we wanted to also put on a strangle on ZB. Let's take a look at strangle on ZB. We're going to go 7. We're going to go down here to about the 6. Okay, 133 to the upside. If I look at, again, my chart, I'm just looking at the weekly. 128 to the upside was the 3 ATR. We're pretty much outside of that. We're sitting at the 21 EMA. The downside is 106. I don't feel we're going down to retest the lows at 126. So I'm pretty good here. But let's just take a look. Got to size it for my account. Okay, we'll put this on. Yeah, we'll put this on here. Sizing this for my account, you can see that this is what, 2,800 on 10,000, right? This is a 28% return. Now, obviously, you cut that in half, it's only going to be a 14% return. The 14% return is pretty solid. So if you wanted to drop down here to the 6, which would put us exactly at the 3 ATR and also at the low of the year on this trade, and pretty much make this an equal distant trade. Take a look here. It makes this an equidistant trade. Okay. So same distance to the down as the upside. So it's a nice equidistant trade right now. And I'm still getting 2250 in extrinsic on 85.95. That's 26%. I'm actually getting more here. We're going to pop this trade on. We're going to see what happens. All right, so we'll put it in. We're going to let this thing work. If we get filled on these trades, you'll get a chance to jump in. All right, so hopefully this was helpful. I don't know. Yeah, it's the same. Anyway, I think this will hopefully gives you guys an idea. So we got some trades working today. So we put an oil strangle on. Okay, so new strangle and oil on an AT112, which is more of an aggressive trap, so much higher PDS 112. Down here we got gold working 650 now, so we're gonna have to give in. Okay, I will leave it at 650 for now. If they go further down, I don't know if I'll chase. And then I've got this particular trade on here. And if I'm looking at these, okay, so this is what I'm looking at for this particular trade, which is still pretty nice. You know, it's 22 on 10 grand. So still 22%. I went down to my 3 ATR here. I made these more equidistant. So bonds does tank for whatever reason, because the Fed says, you know, we're going to raise rates or something like that. Who knows? If not, we move to the upside. It's okay here. You could even move this upside up a little bit more, but I think 133 is well outside of my 3 ATR level. Doesn't mean we can't hit it. I just want to give myself some safety. All right. So there's where we are on these trades. That's what's cooking right now. And we'll let you guys go because I know Igor's got a session. I don't want to take the whole day. All right, you guys enjoy a great rest of your afternoon. And maybe I'll join you guys in with Igor there as a viewer as well. All right, have a great day, everybody. Take care.